Welcome to another edition of Ducks No Sports, as this week we preview Week 16 of the NFL. It's also a huge video because we have a special guest, as the 44th President of the United States, Barack Obama, has joined us. Welcome, Obama. Glad to see you with us. But now we're down to business. Week 16 in the NFL. Should be an interesting one with a lot of big games this week with the playoffs just around the corner. And it should be interesting with, a lot of teams now have to really put wins together and get these two games down the stretch and hope for some help. And, the playoffs are going to be good this year, and a lot of teams looking to lock up a playoff spot this week, and a lot of teams looking to lock up home field this week as well. We'll start with our first matchup of the week, as the Atlanta Falcons travel to Detroit, to Ford Field, to take on the Detroit Lions. Should be interesting. We'll start with Atlanta. Last week, Atlanta showed that they are, in my opinion, a Super Bowl caliber team with the way they just killed the Giants. I mean, they took a very good Giants team and just destroyed them from start to finish. Their defense forcing turnovers. Matt Ryan, like always, getting it done. And just very impressive the way they all got it done last week. And we'll start with their offense. Like saying for weeks, this offense is probably the best offense in the league. I think you got Julio on one side, you got Rodney on the other side, you got Tony in the middle, you got Michael Turner and Rodgers in the backfield. Are really starting to light it up now. Really start to get the running game going. And there's really no team. I think in the NFC, I think hands down, Atlanta Falcons are the best team in the NFC. And I don't think there's no team that can really compete with them on offense. But their true question has to be their defense. And you look at their stats as individuals, not good. But they just play so good as a group. They play so good together. And I just love the way the Falcons play on defense. Their defensive line gets after the passer. It's not like in past years where they couldn't create a pass rush. They're getting that pass rush now. And in the backfield, in the defensive backfield, you got basically a bunch of ball hawks back there from Samuel to McCoy, and just very, very impressive. And I really think the Atlanta Falcons, going forward, I really think they got the blinders on right now because they're still playing with a chip on their shoulder. They get no respect. And I really think they're going to be the blinders until they get to the playoffs. I think they're just going to roll the last 2 weeks. And they're playing a team, and Detroit Lions, and let's be honest, Detroit has not had a good year. Has really struggled from start to finish. Seemed like parts of the year when they started to get something going, they don't. Something goes astray. Stafford's not had a good year. Calvin Johnson, for what's been said, has had a good year. But it's pretty sure in this offseason some things will need to be changed. I mean, they'll have to get a running back, take some pressure off Stafford and Calvin Johnson. And on defense, you have a really good front four, but besides that, you don't really got much there in Detroit. Something will have to be done. But that being said, this week, Detroit, for what it's worth, in prime time, usually seem to show up. I remember against Green Bay a couple weeks ago. Showed up against Green Bay, almost beat them. But it'll be interesting this week. But I just think, like I said, with Atlanta, with the blinders on, the Lions not having a good year, it's on ESPN on Saturday night. But I just think the Atlanta Falcons get it done. And the Atlanta Falcons beat Detroit Lions. I think it's going to be closer than people think because Atlanta Falcons don't really blow teams out except for last week. But I really think Detroit Lions just don't have enough to compete with Atlanta at this time. And Atlanta Falcons get it done. A field goal game, but Falcons get it done. Our next game, New Orleans at Dallas. Should be interesting because, Dallas still has a chance to win the East, which a couple weeks ago I didn't think was possible, but they still have a chance to win the East. And will be an interesting game this week. New Orleans, up and down season. We talk about this all the time. With them starting 0-4, really dug himself in a hole, but then scratch and claw them way back into the playoffs. But then, of course, dropping 2 games, of course, to the Falcons in the Georgia Dome, and then to the Giants the following week. Just really bury them for the season. No shot at the playoffs anymore, but you still have pride in that team. You still have a lot of players that want to show up and maybe ruin a team like Dallas' chance to get into the playoffs. A guy like Drew Brees, who's not going to quit in the season, has Had every opportunity to quit on the season, the start of the year, but didn't. And I'll give him a lot of credit. Really show what kind of professional this guy really is. Very impressed with Drew Brees, the way he's handled himself this year. And it's pretty clear with New Orleans that their problem is defense, and they need to get maybe a new defensive coordinator, maybe a whole new defense, because from start to finish, this team didn't get it done. Last week playing really well, though, forcing 5 turnovers against the Buccaneers. Very, very impressive. But that being said, though, there's just been too inconsistent this year, and that's really been the downfall this year. It hasn't been the offense, because Drew Brees is still getting it done. He's still putting up the numbers. But not getting it done this year on defense, that's going to hurt them. And that's the reason they're not making the playoffs. Let's be honest. Their defense is the reason they're not going to the playoffs this year. And they're playing a pretty desperate team this week in the Dallas Cowboys, who need to win the last 2 games to make the playoffs or even win the East. And, I'll give credit. I've never been Tony Romo's biggest fan, but he's getting it done the last couple of weeks. And this team's really come together the last couple of weeks. With that emotional game a couple weeks ago where their teammate got fortunately killed. And they're coming together as a team. It seemed to be something that brought them all together. Very impressive for the Dallas Cowboys. And, they're not putting up, like Dallas usually puts a lot of stats, a lot of numbers, and maybe they're down a little bit this year, but they seem to be winning games lately. And I just think a desperate team in Dallas at home in that huge stadium, I think the Dallas Cowboys get it done this week against the New Orleans Saints. And we'll see. And still have a shot at the playoffs, and maybe still have a shot at the NFC East. Our next matchup of the week, the New York Football Giants traveled to Baltimore to take on the reeling Baltimore Ravens. Start with the Giants here. Like I said earlier, Giants did not play their best game last week. I mean, Eli throwing a pick on his first pass attempt of the game. And after that, just couldn't really get nothing going. And just, Aaron was such a good coach, and Tom Coughlin he's a great coach, one of the best coaches in the league, no doubt. But some of his play calling last week was very questionable. I mean, when they're still in the game, they're only down by 14, still have a chance in the game, and they decide to kick a field goal, decided to go for it on 4th down, says kicking an easy field goal. Very interesting. Did that a couple times in the first half. Really played like really questionable playing calling last week. Didn't like what I saw the Giants last week. But hey, this is what the Giants do every year. Every time you think they're out, every time you think they're done, they're like a phoenix. They just rise from the ashes. They do it every year, it seems like. And I am, for one, am not going to count out the New York Giants. I've learned my lesson through the years not to count out the Giants. And they're playing a team in Baltimore this week who is reeling. Like I said, is reeling. Since Ray Lewis went down, they've lost a lot. They've lost a lot of games, and they don't seem to be the same team without him. They seem to be, a little off the last couple of weeks. And I just think, Joe Flacco talks a lot of stuff. He talks a lot. For a guy who thinks he's elite QB, which he's not, he talks a lot of stuff. And I just think Baltimore, next couple of weeks, they need to get the running game going. They need to get the ball to Ray Rice. They need the ball out of Joe Flacco's hands and put in Ray Rice's hands, because that's their best weapon. That is the key to the Baltimore Ravens winning games. It's you run the ball on offense, and on defense, you go back to being a kick-ass defense again. And that's how the Baltimore Ravens are going to go and win a Super Bowl, is running the football and playing defense the way they've done it since their existence in 1996. That's the way they've always got it done. And if Joe Flacco doesn't like that, well, then he can just suck it. Because that's the way the Baltimore Ravens are going to win football games. And that's how they have to play this week to win this game. But I think a veteran team, the New York Giants, goes on the road to Baltimore. Tough place to play. But Eli Manning gets it done this week, and the New York Giants go on the road and win this game. And our next matchup we're going to focus on the week is San Francisco traveling to Seattle to take on the Seahawks in prime time on Sunday Night Football. Okay, we'll start with San Francisco. Last week I was very impressed with what I saw. I mean, Kaepernick. You know, I've been kind of hard on this last couple of weeks, but he out Tom Brady. I mean, he out-dueled Tom Brady. It was very, very, very impressive. And I really think if San Francisco plays the way they did last week, more consistently, they might be the best team in the NFC. But they don't play consistently that way every week. And how did they do last week? Running the football, setting up the play-action pass down the field. Very, very impressive. Getting Moss involved. And, of course, on defense, they do what they do, which is just be one of the best defenses in the league. And I think San Francisco, very, very impressive. But they're also playing a very hot team this week, the Seattle Seahawks, who have forgotten how to lose. I mean, and they're not, Seattle's doing it, but they're not doing it, they're not complicating things. They're running the football, they're playing good on defense. That's how they're getting it done. And Russell Wilson, man, like I said, time this year, coming into the year, was not a big fan, thought he'd be a bust in the league. I was wrong. This guy just gets it done week in and week out. But that being said, though, Seattle seems every time they're in kind of this spot where they're in a big game this year, they kind of seem to choke a little, and I think that's what will happen again. This time, I think San Francisco playing so hot, and I think the San Francisco 49ers go into Seattle, tough place to play, probably the toughest place to play in the NFL with the 12th man. But they get it done this week in Seattle and come away with this one and probably lock up the second seed in the NFC. All right, rest of our games this week. Oakland at Carolina. I'll take Cam Newton. And that defense was playing especially well the last couple of weeks over Oakland. Tennessee at Green Bay. I'll take Green Bay. Minnesota at Houston. Well, tough to stop AP, but I will take the Houston Texans at home. New England at Jacksonville. I'll take New England to roll. The Colts at the Chiefs. I'll take the Colts. Buffalo at Miami. Miami still has something to play for. Still a shot at the playoffs. They need a lot of help. But I will take Miami. Chargers at the Jets. I will take the Jets with a new quarterback, McElroy. Washington at Philly. I will take Washington with return of RG3. Because when you say you down with RG3, you say you know me. Cincinnati at Pittsburgh. I will take Cincinnati. St. Louis at Tampa Bay. I will take Tampa Bay at home. Cleveland at Denver. Just like Seattle, Denver has forgotten how to lose, so I will take the Denver Broncos. Chicago at Arizona. I will take the Chicago Bears to get it done against Arizona this week in Arizona. Won't be easy, but I think the Bears get it done. Just remember to keep track of my picks, as last week I went, and all right, pretty impressive, 11-5 to bring my total records here to 146, 75, and 1. And until next time, I'm Aaron Duxbury saying, I'm Dux, and I know sports, kind of.